Hi, I'll start, Tim. I'm Darlene Hansen. Welcome to Communication Access Connect for April. And I am one of the co-directors of the empowerment team, which leads this Communication Access Connect. I'll give you a brief description. I'm getting into senior life woman with shoulder length blondish gray hair. And I wear glasses, and I have my Disability Voices United virtual black backdrop on, and I'm wearing a black sweater. And I'm going to have Tim introduce himself in just a second. No hurry, Tim, you're fine. Today we're going to be talking about fatigue and how it what it means to be an AAC user and what it takes to be an AAC user. Hopefully supporting each other in this conversation, but also kind of brainstorming what kind of things can we ask for, what kind of things how should we talk about this with other people, and there's a whole host of things come up, I know, for so many people. Go, Tim.
This is going to be a great topic, and Darlene, I'm catching up on you because I'm almost a senior now. My name is Tim, and I am the other director of the empowerment.
While we're talking, you all are able to put messages and ideas into the chat at any time. We'll go through and read them. If you have questions of any of us, or speakers, or anybody in the group, you can ask questions there. We'll do the questions and answer section after we've heard our speakers. We're doing our introductions, Kerri.
William, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is William Del Rosario, and I am a student intern with DVU. I am a 22-year-old Hispanic Filipino male with black hair, brown eyes, wear glasses, and my pronouns are he and him. I am wearing a black shirt and am in front of a blue DVU Zoom background. I have autism, apraxia, am a multimodal communicator, and use AAC. Supporting me today is my mom, Michelle. Thank you for making the time to be here.
Thanks, William. And we don't have Nina today because actually right now there's a big hearing going on at the state capitol. And so Nina Spiegelman is not with us today because she is in Sacramento at this hearing. And if anybody wanted to get off of this call and go to the hearing, we're not going to judge you for that. That would be an okay thing too, but we're happy that you're here. We didn't want to cancel this. Our bill was already heard today at 1:30. All right. So Nina's probably on a train.
It's a big day in Sacramento.
Yeah, big day for sure in Sacramento. Okay, let's get on with our speakers, Tim, shall we? All right, William, you want to open us up with you have a story about, again, we're talking about AAC users, fatigue, and everything that goes in to your lives, what others might consider behind the scenes. And so, William, I know you had a story, recent story and a recent adventure that it's kind of interesting to share about. Can you do that for us?
Today, we are going to be talking about some of the challenges that come with being an AAC user. We often think about our right to communicate. Some of us have even done a good job advocating for that. But have you thought about accommodations you might need that go beyond your AAC? For example, last month I shared about a recent trip I took to Sacramento advocating for communication access. I prepared for my presentations and what I wanted to say in my meetings, but did not plan for the unexpected. Some things like a 3-hour flight delay, or the long wait for our car rental that left us rushing to our first meeting were not in my control, but some things were. For example, the conference I was presenting at wanted me to do a 7 a.m. sound check and watch the other presentations before my turn at 10. I get dysregulated when I am in a new environment and there is too much change, and this had me starting my day already tired. Next time I will ask for a sound check the day before so that I can relax and explore the new environment before presenting. After my presentation, we walk to lunch, which usually is not a problem, but I was already tired. Maybe I will ask to be driven or find a closer restaurant the next time. That afternoon, we had our third speaking opportunity, and I was ready but sleepy. My mom was supporting me, and I wanted to type even though she offered me my letterboard, which is sometimes easier for me. I should have listened to her. When I do too much and get too tired, it can cause seizure activity for me. I can't say for sure if I was having seizure activity in Sacramento, but when we got home from a very busy weekend, I had a seizure. I have waited most of my life to be able to access communication, and I forget sometimes to listen to my body or ask for the breaks I need. My teacher reminded me that ASL interpreters take turns and breaks so their body doesn't get tired, and it was good for me to think about my breaks too. I will remember this next time and ask for the extra support. I think we all should remember that putting communication first should not mean you put yourself last. What are some accommodations that might help you?
William, once again, a Williamism. Putting communication first doesn't mean you put yourself last. That's a great thing for everybody to hold on to, right? Sometimes you work so hard to get your communication that I think it's easy to think, I can't drop the ball, I got to go for it because this is my one and only turn, right? So that's a great way to put it, William. Thanks. And thanks for sharing that story. I was there with him and I saw him declining and I'm like, oh, he's having a hard time. And it was just because of the schedule and the pace, right? Tim's going to go next. Maurice says, good job, William.
Ooh. Ooh.
Here
William,
comes Tim.
you have a good point. I don't like my schedule so jam-packed because it makes me feel very overwhelmed, and by the end of the day, I totally shut down and I just stay in my room and decompress. Hi everyone, I am so happy to introduce my friend Kerri. Kerri and I went to the same elementary school together way back when we reel our real hair, other our grays. Kerri, please take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kerri. I am a white American with dark brown eyes and brown hair. I am wearing a yellow sweater with a white and yellow checked collar. My communication device is Accent 1000. The very first challenge my parents had to face was when I was born normal and healthy. However, I stopped breathing when I was only 51 hours old. That caused major damages to my brain, and I have cerebral palsy. As you can see, I'm not able to walk or talk, although my body does not work too well. My mind and spirit are just fine. I am happy the way I am. And that's the most important to have. I would not change my life for anything if I had a chance to do it. As a child, I always sat on the sideline, not being able to communicate with anyone, but I always watched and observed everything that was around me. My mom and dad knew what my needs were, but they didn't really know what was going on in my child head, which was getting frustrated for all of us. All I could do was to shake my head yes or no if someone asked me some questions. I was going to school, but the teacher really didn't know how to teach me, so she gave me some blocks to play with while she was teaching the other disabled children. My mom knew I always loved to draw and color, so one night while Mom was on the phone, I decided to write some letters of alphabet, and I got all excited about it, and I showed my mom what I did. She got so excited that she squealed and giggled. My writing was jerky and shaky, but she was able to make it out. She showed it to the teacher, but she didn't believe my mom. She sure didn't show her passionate toward my work. Lucky. The following school year, I was able to change schools, and my mom told this new teacher, who was fresh out of college, about me wanting to learn. The teacher didn't know how, at first, to teach me, but she did it. She had me to sit at a typewriter. She was able to teach me how to spell, read small words, write small sentences, combine sentences together. That was the beginning to communicate with everyone. Communication was the most important thing in my life. I had a lot of years to make up. I was asked to talk about how using the communication device makes me feel fatigue. As I was pondering on what to say to you, I learned the different meanings of the word fatigue. Fatigue means extreme tiredness resulting from mental or physical exertion or weakness of materials, especially metal, caused by repeated variations of stress. Physically, I don't get too tired from using my communication device because that's the only way for me to communicate effectively to everyone. However, just sometimes, not always, I get frustrated when someone asks me a question and then the person walks away before letting me finish writing my thoughts out. It gets annoying for me to keep on talking without letting me to put my 2 cents in on a subject. When people move to a new topic, like Tim, my friend, we can talk to 2 or 4 people without any problem, but large crowds, you can just forget it. At least I do. I get more fatigued by sitting there and listening to everyone and doing absolutely nothing. In my opinion, I sometimes worry when I go out somewhere nights with my communication device getting low with battery. And yes, it has happened. A month ago, the storm was going on and I was on the computer putting a puzzle together. All of a sudden, my apartment complex got power outage. I wasn't too concerned about it until I saw that my communication device started hitting the yellow bars of the charge gauge. Oh yes, indeed. Immediately, I text my church friends, telling them what happened and asked if they could take my communication device to be battery at their house. And they said they would do that. If it came to the point, we were all prepared for the worst. I then learned that the electricity should come back on about midnight. At bedtime, I let my friends know that I was going to have my communication device on the charger and hoped for the best for the next day. It was all charged with the power being back on, but it was fatigue mentally to know what to do if the electricity still was out. I turned my communication device off to save some juice, and I was able to put a book on to listen to through my phone, which was a good thing. In the past, as an AAC user, some of my communication devices have frozen up pretty often, so I learned how to reboot some of communication devices manually by holding the power button down. On these newer communication devices, I've learned that I would need to have a paper clip to reboot my communication devices, and I put it in an old pill bottle in my bag at all times with a little instruction. That helps a lot. Another time was when I was in Arizona visiting my best friend, and all of a sudden, my communication device just stopped working. I was able to let her that it wasn't working. It was on a Saturday when the PRC company was closed. On the back of my communication device, there was an 800 number, and the friend left a message with a callback number. An hour later, a guy with his communication device called back where he could help us to get my communication device working again. Another fatigue experience is when the communication device needed to be sent out to get prepared. I would need to save my stuff up on an USB drive first before sending my device out. They would mail a loaner to me, and I would set the loaner up with my stuff. That is awesome to have. because without having a loaner, I would go from any communication device for a month or two. However, I have some different ways to communicate. One is the computer for sure. The second way is my old faithful talking board, and the third is my skywriting, where I make letters in the air. Another fatigue story was when I was all ready to go home from my doctor appointment alone. I'm also going to talk about my experience with my doctor, who needed some education about me and my abilities to stand up and to speak up for myself. All of us need to be brave, especially about our health conditions. I have had some people just don't understand. We can hear perfectly, yet they think they need to yell so that we will be able to hear. That's a big joke, because when they first yell to talk to me, I always jump. In March, I was at my doctor appointment. However, my assistant needed to leave early for another appointment. That would be no problem with me. Well, it turned to be a huge problem, because the doctor were not allowing me to drive myself home in my motorized wheelchair. He said he couldn't let me do it by myself because I was unable to do it in front of me. He told the nurse to call my home to tell someone to pick me up, and I told them I lived by myself. So I let them to call my home phone. Guess what? No one was there, and I also let them call my cell phone number, which meant they were calling me when I was right in front of them. If they wanted to play dumb, I did let them be embarrassed and puzzled. I did need to sign a form to be able to go home, except he had one of his aides to walk me home, which was 3 miles away, but insisted that she would follow me. However, I wouldn't go so slow for her. I think she gave up and got in her car to make sure I would get home safely. So, it is so important for all of us to know better than to talk down about someone who could understand and is able to tell someone that they were talked down. That really made me feel very fatigued and frustrated, because I knew what I was doing when they had no clue about what they were doing with me. On the next visit, I gave the doctor a long and educational letter about what my capacities were, and he actually thanked me. He learned a lot. I don't know about all of you. I feel very fatigued or nervous around people who have no idea who they are messing with. When some people talk or treat me as if I am a 5-year-old girl. That's a crack up. I just say to talk to me normal. Then I would respond back to them respectfully, because it takes me sometimes to write a sentence or two. I store some frequently sociable phrases in here to make things more casual and friendly. Frequently, phrases help me more relaxed around some people and enjoy our company. In closing, I would like to say thank you for having me to talk to you this afternoon. Let's try to educate everyone who is in our life. I know it is not always easy for anyone to go out and make some new friends, but we need to. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Kerri. That was great. Those are great stories. I love your wit. That's so great. Unfortunately, unfortunately, you have to have that sense of humor and that dropping the mic moment, right? Very cool. Yeah, so I think that what I was wondering in your presentation, and even and then maybe William, you as well, or any of you guys who are using AAC, but like I'm figuring, because I'm not an AAC user, but just navigating multiple modes of technology for myself as a speaking person is stressful, because I'm like, what am I supposed to be using right now? Where is it? And then you have to kind of shift gears as to how you use it, right? And I can only imagine doing that all day, or even, frequently in your life. I just have to do it every once in a while when I'm having a bad day. Is that whole being we want you to be multimodal communicators, because you never know, you have to have that backup. But isn't that fatiguing? A little bit, Kerri says.
Yes. If we don't know the P A T T pattern down of a communication device. Yes, if we don't know the pattern of a communication device.
Right, changes your rhythm in that, right? And then I know a few of you have communication partners here online that I can see who, as a precaution, carry any and every system that you have available with you at the same time. And that should be, I mean, I can only imagine, I like to walk out with my wallet, I can only imagine what having to carry all this stuff with you all the time in preparation, how fatiguing that could be. Feel
Right.
free. Oh, go ahead.
Today, I had to make sure my communication device was on the charge before the meeting. Like today, I had to make sure my communication device was on the charge before the meeting.
Right. Yeah. Deva wrote in the chat here, and you can see her probably on the screen here, but I'm Deva, a 73-year-old Jewish woman with generalized dystonia, like Neil Marcus. I have a PhD in anthropology and teach disability services in the University of New York. MA program, which is online and asynchronous. My AAC is usually a trained human revoicer, or I use chat, and more often now I must type. I need a particular kind of keyboard, and I must be sitting down with the table at the right height, the right height to type. So I must talk. Typing is slow. Talking is also equally slow, but at least sound continues. So I don't. Sound continues so I don't lose my audience. Because the communication is so difficult but precious. When I get a chance to express myself, I make sure I have something to say. I eschew some small talk. I don't have the energy to waste. I have become quite the orator. For example, when I am explaining something complicated, I know I need to keep the audience's attention. I build my argument carefully using increasingly deep but provocative language. Finally, like the verb in a German sentence, at the end, I put the main point. It's exhausting. Being so clever all the time with my friends, I may resort to mime and dance. You're kind of reminding me of Tim. Tim, I don't know, Tim, do you have this saved, or do you want me to tell the story about how you negotiate what you're going to say when you're going to say it? You want me to say what I'm thinking?
Thank you so much for speaking, and these were excellent and real stories, and by letting your doctor know when to communicate with you, you are using supportive decision-making. Your stories brings back so many memories for me.
Yeah. You gonna share one?
You're welcome.
Darlene, please go ahead.
So Tim educated me when we first met and started working together on how he's always listening to the conversation, and sometimes he starts typing out his comment or answer, response, or ideas, but then sometimes he has to just pull a rug on it because the conversation's moved on, and then he jumps back into the next. Look at everybody's going, yeah. So I can't even keep up with the conversation like that people are talking to me about. So he's constantly doing this balance of, do I have time to answer it, and how much time am I going to have to say all that I want to say? Right? That's a lot to me.
I agree.
Kathleen said, yes, I have the habit of replacing words I'm trying to say, but I'm not understood. Yeah. So I don't know, is there some way that we can all make that easier for you? Like, I would love to make that easier. I feel like I don't want to cheat you out of getting to say what you're thinking, because you guys have such great ideas. People need to hear you. William had talked about that when he was younger, he would end up saying the same thing different ways, trying to be heard until he got a trained communication partner. So I just think holding your thought, even for getting all of those little moments out to spell something, that's a huge thing to me, I think, too. Alana says, how do I get trained communication partner for my nonverbal adult son? That's the $1 million 2023 question, huh? Getting staff. There are mechanisms for training. It's just about finding the person that matches you to get trained, right? Kathleen says, Tim, that's my issue during meetings. I may not always have time to finish typing my comment. William, that happened to you, I think, or Bella in Sacramento. Maybe he's going to share that story. William says, I think asking for lots of patience while I type. Yeah. Didn't you have that happen, William, where you were gonna say something, but then the conversation moved on, or was it Bella? I can't remember. Maybe it was Bella. Just having that interjection, like William says, I think asking for lots of patience while I type. Yeah, it might have been Bella. I think Bella had something to say, and then the conversation, and she started to work on it and couldn't get it done in time, and then the meeting ended.
It is like we are talking to ourselves when a someone just walks away. It is like we are talking to ourselves when someone just walks away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
I was saying this happens to him all the time too. Go for it, Tim.
It gets very tiring after a while, and I sometimes leave the conversations and go into the back of the room and take a break, and when I'm refreshed again, I rejoin the conversation again. It's like taking a water break. When my staff and family and friends knows that I need water, they understand that I need a break, and they usually step back and give me space.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of this has to do with advocacy, right? And I mean, in those spontaneous moments, it's probably harder to have that point be heard, but for sure in established groups, like who was it that was saying this? Kathleen saying that she's in one committee where she's the only individual with a disability. From day one, I informed them about my need to type in the chat window. And except for one time in over a year, all has gone well. Excellent. So advocacy, right? Speaking up for yourself. William says, sometimes I want to type something. Wait, sometimes I want to type something usually at regional center meetings, but I need more than 3 minutes. Oh yeah, getting rushed. That's one. Ryan just had the example of his power going out, just as Kerri was talking about that. Yeah, regional center. And Kayla says, I do not speak with my voice, so I depend on my iPad. I find the younger my audience is, the more patient they are to hear my words. Probably true. Probably true. How about like, I think about this, I think about scheduling things. Like, how do you, like Tim, you kind of branched on this a little bit when you said that by the end of the day, you can be just like done. But even class lists, class schedules or work schedules, or how does that affect you, and how do you speak up around that? People just assume you can be available because it's 9 to 5, right? Don't we all live 9 to 5? Does anybody need any accommodations for their schedule? I know when I was working in the schools, we would have students who used AAC, and if they went through it to try and get everything done in 4 years, that was tough. I remember one person did it. I don't know how he did it, but he did. Usually people were taking 5 to 6 years to space it out and give themselves time to work on homework and chill a little bit, not have you had to think about what classes you could pair up because it might be too much writing, and if you did a certain schedule, that kind of thing. And I've also seen people get, I want to use the word fried, just like overdone because they're trying to do too much. See you all typing, so it's going to come at one point. Everybody's going to be talking here. William says, yes, I asked for questions before and extra time. Okay, that's a good one. See, here we go. All right. Kayla says, my instructors do a good job of giving me discussion questions before class. Sometimes they send them over the weekend. And Marie was saying that she needed help scheduling appointments. That's a good advocacy too, right? There's a lot to think about, like what time of day, like William, you mentioned, don't ask me to get there at 7 in the morning, you guys. If your routine is really long, that the rituals that you go through to get yourself going and they have it in a certain rhythm, then probably just spontaneously being ready to go at 7 is probably not very easy. I know a lot of people that I know don't sleep well at night. And so they actually start their day at 11, sometimes 12, right? How about those of you who use speech, but need processing time? Right? That can be tiring. Like when we're talking about using, watching someone who's using sign language, and yeah, Maria, I was thinking of you when I thought of this question. Thinking of watching a person who's using sign language to, that's exhausting for me to watch. It's a second language for me, so maybe it's easier if it's your first language, but just that processing time can be fatiguing. How does that affect you, and how do you advocate? William says, I also offer to reply to follow-up questions. Oh, that's a good one. I'll talk to you later about that. That's good. That's a good one.
For myself, I don't like to have anything in a disarray. I really like to have a set schedule. I've gotten better over the years and just don't care what is going on, but I'm more tired when I'm in a rush. I would rather have a list of 10 things that I have to do in a day, rather random things that just comes up.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Kayla says, I do not take classes in the later afternoon. I am too tired by then. I do much better in the morning. Good. So knowing that about yourself, I think, is really important. I'm looking to see if anybody else has something. How do you guys present this information to the people that you're talking with? Just on your devices? Do you send a letter ahead of time?
Sometimes. I Right. Letter. Letters. A. Head. Of. Times. R. E. S. Especially to the doctor, doctors, because they are very busy. But they do read and to listen. Hear. My. X. C. O. N. C. E. R. Concerns about something, some things. Sometimes I write letters ahead of times, especially to the doctors, because they are very busy, but they do read and hear my concerns about some things.
That's good. That's good. But again, you gotta prepare ahead of time, right? It's like, it's all about timing. Let's see, Kath.
Maybe Ed and some of our staff at Disability Voices United have questions for us users, because our staff interacts with everyone. Ed or Gilda, do you have any questions for us?
Tim, I love that question. I do. I am wondering what it's like to be in a meeting when when things are going back and forth and there are all sorts of ideas flying every which way. What kind of toll does that take as far as knowing, like, I have to wait for, like, I have to get my response queued up, I have to prepare my answer, and by the time that we get to a place where they're ready to hear me, we're going to be talking about a completely different thing. And how do you deal with that? And how can we, as people who largely speak to communicate for the most part at DVU? And how can people who speak to communicate for the most part in the real world, or not the real world, DVU is the real world, but how can people who speak to communicate in the rest of the world make our spaces, or make the spaces we share together really more accessible as far as conversation and collaboration and work for people who use AAC and other communication methods?
Yeah, that's a good question. While you guys are creating answers to that, whoever wants to create an answer, I'm gonna read a couple. Marie said that she uses text or email or calls or writes a letter, but she does some prep work ahead of time, right, Marie? And then Kathleen said she emails ahead of time. Kayla said, my counselor sends a few days before class starts to explain my accommodations, and then I make an appointment to ask and answer questions. It's a good one. And then William brought up another thing that you have to think about. What about communication partners or staff? Making the move to self-determination means planning their schedules and breaks too. And I'm going to go one step further on that, William. What about people planning a schedule for you that doesn't include a break for you? Like, what if you have staff who just said, oh, and now we're going to go here, and now we're going to go here, and you know, that can happen, I know. Kathleen said, or if the meeting is in person, like with a doctor, I'll type notes ahead of time. Marie was thanking us for that. Deva says, this is the problem in equity. I don't believe we should need to take more time for school or work. We need schoolwork and work structured for us so we complete our school and work in the same amount of time as others. Good point. This means being very focused and on task and knowing what accommodations work. I'm sick of my students paying some disability services person to approve that we can use more time rather than a more complex system. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Oh, that's kicking it up a whole nother level there, Deba. I like that. Why should you have to take more time to do what everybody else is doing? That's a great point. And then while you guys are typing and creating, I'm going to have Lorna or whoever is translating for us right now read Delphina, please, to us. Oh, here, you already wrote it. Okay, sorry, I'll read it. Delphina says, my 21-year-old son who has a tablet with Proloquo, he has not progressed using it because he is severely impacted fine motor skills. OT is just consulting with the teacher. I wonder, can we teach classes or therapy to my son? He is not intellectually functional and is not verbal. Wait, yeah. So yes, we can, right, William? And Otto, yes, we can. You can, you know, if you want to, there's ways to get educational services through self-determination. If you are in school, you could, you're getting kind of late in the school realm here, but it's about teaching a person to use whatever means they have to communicate most effectively, not to making a person do it the way we, the professional, wants you to do it, in that ableist kind of mindset. You can go for it, Tim.
As you just seen right now, I cut Arlene off, not because I'm rude, but I always try to predict the natural pause in the conversation to be heard. It gets really difficult because everyone has a different pace of speaking. It can be very challenging at times because you don't want to be rude, but you have to get your points across.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Tim.
Yeah. If anybody has any service ideas for Delphina, feel free to write them in there. Otherwise, Delphina, you can write to me and I'll send some info your way. Deva says, keep the F off the chat if people are using it who can't talk. Give us some kind of territory. William says that is true. The respite I had only had staffing 8 to 12 Saturday mornings. That was not helpful. Yeah. My counselor and academic is Kayla. My counselor and academic advisor give me double time for appointments. I get an hour and others get 30 minutes. I really appreciate this because I feel valued and I never feel rushed. And Deva says for the person with no fine motor skills, for one, use a big touch screen. Right, it's going to start with like a good assessment, right?
Like in church during the Sunday school class, the teacher sees me writing something on my communication device, and they go back to a subject from previous.
Knowing that that's what you were writing about. Yeah, that's nice and helpful, isn't it? Deva says that for the we really need to ask Zoom to set us up with more than one chat. Oh, that's an idea. Since so many of the you guys as AAC users are using Zoom and the chat now. Yeah. You know, we had a situation, I don't know if you guys knew this and I don't want to relive it, but we had a Zoom bomber kind of a person get in on one of our meetings, and not our meetings, but a hearing, a town hall, I think it was. Anyways, that part's not important. The important part was that then we had to regroup and we started talking about what could we do to keep everybody safe and keep those icky elements out, right? And so one of the solutions was to go into more of a webinar format or a meeting format where everybody's cameras are off, or you don't see people, right? You don't see all of you. But Tim and I were like, no, because we use this visual information to know that, like, otherwise I'd go on in the conversation, but I see everybody working on stuff, so I pause it, right? So I mean, I get why that would be handy to just take those elements out and not have people see everybody, so that it's not reinforcing to be a Zoom bomber. But it for us and for you as a AAC user, you're relying on the fact that we see you to know that you have something that you want to say. So it doesn't work. That's why this meeting is still like this. And you might notice that some of the other DVU meetings for a little bit of time might be in a little bit different format. We'll go back to normal afterwards. Delphina says, thank you for your answers. And how does she get an evaluation? Yeah. Are you able to do evaluations? I don't personally do evaluations. DVU doesn't do evaluations, and we don't do services like that. But if you want to write to me, I will put you in touch, or Tim can put you in touch with some people that might be able to help you out. When you write to us, tell us where you live too, Delphina. Deva says, I bet they would do it. I also have connections at UW with Google and Microsoft. Let's ask them. Yeah, go for it. That's what this group's about, is making things happen. William says, I think a good AAC specialist who sees how to coach the motor, just being given advice or using programmed buttons is not enough. Okay, Delphinia's in Santa Ana. Okay, so write to us, Delphinia. We'll get you some information.
Sorry, I think that was a device. We're having some keyboard challenges today. It's double hitting and dropping letters. Maybe it's not charged.
Okay. I'm just using you being given a device. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you. Okay, I'm looking to see if anybody's got anything else. Kayla, do you have any stories about your fatiguing that you want to share? You don't have to. But we were talking the other day, made me think of this. What about, oh, I know what I was thinking. What about if you use a communication partner? What about if your communication partner gets fatigued? Like, how does it, like, what happens?
A lot of people these days can't take their eyes off on their phones. I personally totally shut down as soon as I go to bed and I don't have anything in my room. Many people who doesn't use AAC are always tired, and maybe it's because they are always looking at their screen and not taking a break.
Yeah, you might be able to offer some advice, given the fact that you've lived this for much longer than the rest of us. This is true. Yeah. That's true, Tim. I never thought about it that way, but like me watching Zoom, just like paying attention and reading chats and being on the screen all day is really tiring for me. So I can, yeah, that's your lives, I know. I want to take a moment to share a little bit about our Speakers Bureau. You were just thinking that, Tim, right? So this is April, and May 1st, we're going to launch the information about our Speakers Bureau training that we'll be offering. This is part of a grant we have from Ability Central. There's going to be 3 virtual training days. And the training is about giving support and information to self-advocates to be leaders in their community. It's kind of like a next step to the Emerging Leaders Program. What will happen as it's only for the speakers. It's not for families. It's for you guys, the speakers. And after the training's done, you're welcome to apply to be a part of our Speakers Bureau. We'll develop a website where then you can be a resource to community avenues that need a speaker, need someone to help them understand more about living and accommodations and all of this that you live with every day. So for example, you might say, oh, I really like to make sure that the medical field understands more about us. Then you would identify that in the Speakers Bureau website, and then doctors and medical people could call you up and say, hey, Kerri, do you want to come? Can you come speak with us? I have a group getting together, or you can apply to conferences and things like that. But we just want to create a space where people can find you and you can speak to whatever area you're personally interested in speaking to. So that's going to launch application-wise May 1st. And the actual event will take place virtually starting June 14th. It'll be every other week for 3
It's
weeks.
only for people with any kind of disability, regardless what their disability is.
Right. Not just AAC users. So if you have friends who speak but have a disability, they want to get involved as well. And then there'll be a 4th day available, which will be in person. And so Tim's going to be in charge of that one, I think. Mr. I have to socialize in person. But we will have groups that meet in Southern California, LA area. Southern California, Central California, and Northern California. The same experience will happen in your neighborhoods, but you just go to the one in your neighborhood, okay? And there'll be a 1-day in-person training for that. And that will be more time where we're going to really practice, and we can practice in person, which will be really great, but also talk about supported decision-making. And, you know, that just learn more about what that is and how you can either advocate or use the strategies and the tools yourself. All right, do I have any communicate? Kayla says, I do get very tired at night, especially if my homework is difficult. I need more physical support with difficult tasks. Typing is very hard work for me, and I usually tire before my communication partners. So you gotta make sure you have a way to say, I'm done. Huh, Kayla. And William says, yes, recently DOR wanted to test me and had my mom hold their keyboard that was heavy and awkward. Her shoulder was soon hurting. We need to think about technology at work too. And people just think you could just grab it, right? And like, oh, here's one, right? But that you have your needs, like Deb was talking about, she needs a certain table height. Everything's put together the right way for you, right? Yeah. I'm gonna write this down, Delphina.
We are going to choose about 50 participants, and once you complete the speaker's bureau, you will receive a gift card.
Right, for each of the sessions that you were able to attend virtually. Okay, I wrote it down, Delphina. We'll get back to you. Let's see, this is, I gotta write down why I'm writing it down. Okay, this is, I'm not good at saying. Say it again, sorry, Tim.
Please attend all.
Oh yeah, $10, yeah. Okay, this is, I am not good at saying that I'm finished. I don't want to admit I'm tired. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, de nada. Yeah, that actually, Kathleen says people don't understand that even a slight change in physical setting throws us off. Right. What kind of steps, we got a few more minutes here. What kind of steps do you all think that we all need to take to make these things understood and shared with the general community, like just inclusively? What should we do? What are some step ideas you guys have? Talk to Zoom about a second chat. David said we got that one. And you save these chats, right?
I can.
That'll be good. Thank you. So I think there's tips in here that we can use. Oh, what was that other one you gave me? Let's see. Okay. Independent. Okay, for TA. Okay. So Lulu, you're giving me two different ones. Okay,
Not
so
any communication device will work for me or anyone again. but trying a perfect communication device can be pretty tiring.
Yeah. Can you play it one more time, Kerri? You still have it? I want to process it more.
Not any communication device will work for me or anyone, but trying a perfect communication device can be pretty tiring.
Right. So just the time you have to put into figuring out if this one works well for you is tiring. Yeah, that's a good point. Deva says we must start to publish protocols like we have for ASL and CART. I love this. She's offering to help. She has many ideas. Anyone can save the chat and the transcript. Oh, we can? Okay, cool. Still save it because I'll forget. Kathleen says, for me, just let people know that I have my own setup arrangement and I will ask for assistance when needed, although I rarely do. All right. William says, I like to visit new settings ahead of time, even though I'm usually regulated, knowing what to expect ahead of time helps. So planning for that, huh? As you start to do your guest speaking, William, and charging people, you just have to charge for that time. That's just time. Yeah. You do it? All right. Yeah. Yeah. Rachel says, have idea, we need to be more visible. Sign me up for speakers bureau. Okay, you got to sign yourself up, but yes, definitely. Understand fears, but it holds us back. Yeah, this is a safe place. Definitely, Rachel, sign up. And then Delfina has something in here in Spanish. Since I have a disability since 2 years old. Oh, okay. So you yourself have a disability. Nine for me, since you were 9 for Deva. Yeah. So it's a very big, I'm getting that it's a very big barrier for you. Something about you function at 40 to 30%. Oh, I have a prosthesis. Thank you, Lorna. I have a prosthesis. I only have 30 to 40% functionality. It is a huge barrier. Wouldn't it be great, like if you were a person who couldn't use your hands, if you walked in and then you told the person you're talking to that you're gonna have to put a scarf around their arm and like tie it to the chair or something so that you have an equal playing field. And then if you're using AAC, they have to use AAC as well while you're talking. Kerri, you've done this to people? Are you raising your hand because you've done it? But you know, just say we have to level the playing field here. Otto says, love you guys. See you next time I have another appointment. Bye. Thank you for the great info and interactions. He's probably gone. Bye, Otto. William says, sometimes I forget the prep time needed to plan for that staff. You have to start putting that into the picture.
If I speak more than 20 minutes for a presentation, I made sure that one of the accommodation that they have to agree on is to give me a break, and then I will continue on.
Short commercial break. Yeah. Yeah, that's so laying that all out there. Okay, I got you, Lorna. Okay. Judy says, my 22-year-old has been on a speech generating device since age 7. He'd still rather use gestures and grunts to communicate. He has a tablet with Proloquo to Go, and I've recently introduced him to the same software in his Apple Watch. Ooh. Any advice on how to motivate him to use his devices? Well, first of all, people are multimodality communicators, right? And so that's needs to be acknowledged and respected for sure. And then when you don't understand him, then I think you just have to say, I don't understand you. And you're going to have to come up with another way to tell me what you're thinking. That's what I would say. And then that might be the motivation to move to the tablet, and also you using it. You have to be sure to use it yourself. When you're teaching somebody the significance of something like this, then sometimes that's the difference, is that, well, no one else is using this. Why am I using this? So if you can model it, that's one of the new trends that we use in teaching people. Okay, Rachel's got really great news about AB 447. It is the intent of the legislature to establish or expand upon existing inclusive college programs with the goal of providing inclusive college programs for students with intellectual and developmental disabilities at public 4-year post-secondary educational institutions. All right. Inclusive college programs.
Kerri and William, I have a question for you. How long did it take you to write your presentation to us?
Oh, that's a good one. Delphina doesn't see the information in Spanish that I mentioned. Did we mention information? I'm not sure. Do you mean for the Speakers Bureau, Delphina? And then while you're doing that, Judy says, thanks. How can we protect him out in the community from possible theft of his speech tablet and smartwatch? Yeah, that's I mean, strap it on your body is one way. There's no guarantees on the theft thing, unfortunately. I don't know why. Tim doesn't laugh because he thinks it's funny. He laughs because he's thinking something and he's getting tired sometimes. Kayla says, sometimes my mom and I have serious conversations on my iPad. My mom will type to help put us on an equal playing field. Thanks, Ed. Delphine, if you could write in what information specifically you were talking about, that would help me out. Oh, and the Speakers Bureau is going to be in the midday too, so that we can deal with this fatigue issue. It's from 1 to 2:30 on the days that it is. So Olga says, for a child under 18, would AAC coaching and training be covered by the school district? And there's a way, there's a way to have it covered by SDP. I've had very few luck getting AAC support and services by the district, and in our district, most AAC services are being provided by SLPs. Right, huge problem, huge problem. You can get it covered through SDP, but not as a speech and language person. You're probably, it's not going to work out well that way. But as an adaptive skill or a training kind of a thing, that works. Talk to your IF about how to get that finagled in. The school district thinks they only have to train the school people, unfortunately. So they kick it back to regional center typically. I'm sure this is what you're experiencing. And then regional center says, oh, we have to find a speech and language person to do that, and then get a denial first. And by then you're 22. So I think if you are looking at SDP, that's probably your best bet.
I have a crazy story about getting my device stolen at a punk concert for next time. It's a crazy story, but you have to come back next month.
What a teaser. Okay. It's the cliffhanger. Okay. I think, William, if you have anything you want to say, we've got like 6 minutes left. I see Kerri working on something, I believe. Okay. If anybody else has anything they want to put in there, again, feel free. All of our email addresses are our names at dvunited.org, excuse me, dvunited.org. So Tim is Tim at dvunited.org. I'm Darlene at dvunited.org. Ed, I think it's just Ed. Are you Ed H? Now I can't remember. She might be changing it up. Okay, there. Tim put his email in here. Okay, William says basically an hour to write. I split it into two 30-minute blocks. Rachel says, good idea, Kayla. I feel out-talked sometimes, having your mom do it the same as you. Tim says, here's his email. What's the best code for CRP in STP? I haven't seen a code for a CRP, so I don't have anything on that. To get training, people are using 331 and 361 or 360. So I'm not positive. You can email me and I'll look that up for you. But I don't know what code people are using to get the CRP. That's more of a how are you getting this support in kind of a question. So some people have done it even through behavior. Yeah, Bernadette says yes, STP makes it easier. Yep. Kathy says we look forward to it, Tim, to your cliffhanger. I have a good visual for our next meeting. It's going to be the bandit with the black thing, eyes, up the suitcase. Bernadette says,
I always like getting emails from the group more than my colleagues at DVU.
he means more than he likes getting your emails more than ours, not that we don't like hearing from you. We all like hearing from you. Bernadette says, oh, this is a good tip. Always have Find My Device turned on if it's an iPad. Yes, Ed is her whole name. Go for it, Kerri.
I worked on it for 3 or 4 days, but the first 2 selections are already in communication device, but getting everything in Word document takes extra time.
Good point. Tim does that too. And William's learning to do that, where use old stuff and then put it in and tweak it to the context that you're going to be speaking in, right? Yeah, that's what everybody does that. You should do that too. We don't all start from scratch every time. Believe me, I write reports. Just remember to change the pronouns. That one always gets you in trouble when you cheat that way. But okay, so Find My Device. This is good. And you know what else? I'm going to tell you this tip along that lines that Bernadette talked about. My son uses those air tags that you can get, like they're $25 or something. And he puts them, like he has one in his car because he has an old collector's car. And so he actually had his car stolen from his driveway and found it in 30 minutes with the air tag because of the air tag. So you can put these air tags in anything. You could put the air tag in somehow, get it into, you can glue it onto your, I'm visualizing gluing it onto your device if you don't have an iPad. Do they put Find My Device on the other iPad, the other AAC systems nowadays? They should. Like if you buy a Prinky Romic, will it have a Find My Device locator on it? No, I don't know. I never thought about asking that. William says, yes, Tim taught me to save my work. Yeah. So anyways, so if you don't have Find My Device on your device, you can use an AirTag. And then you will be able to find your device. Doesn't stop the problem, but.
Okay, this was another excellent Communication Access Connect. I would like to thank everyone for coming. We are totally on a roll.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Kerri. Thank you, William, and all the other joiners in here. I think I love the conversation, and I love that you all, hopefully everybody's gotten inspired to advocate for yourself and just step up and say, here's what I need in order to make this meeting or this experience happen for me. And watch for our self-advocate, our Speakers Bureau announcement, because we want to see you all there. And William says thank you, and I say thank you. We will see you next month on the 3rd Tuesday of the May. Okay, watch for more info. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Lorna and team and Ed.